This coaching job is way too important for Boston College to mess up, and they have to hire Bill O'Brien.
You, you are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Locked On Boston College. I'm your host, AJ Black, editor and publisher of Eagle Insider. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more and more new customers join today, and you'll get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. So, this weekend, the overwhelming feeling around many folks connected to Boston College was that Bill O'Brien was going to be the next head coach. This morning, on Monday, we got a tweet from Rich Thompson of the Boston Herald saying that Boston College was close to signing and that they were just going over small details to make the signing official. You had myself who had heard similar things. I wasn't as hard on as a yes as he was. Kevin Stone of Rivals said the exact same thing. You felt pretty good. You felt that Boston College was not going to mess this up. They were going to get the guy that they wanted, and this was going to be the end of it. But at 1:40 p.m., Pete Thamel of ESPN tweeted out, sources, the Boston College football search has 2 rounds of in-person candidate interviews scheduled for this week, with the first coming on Tuesday. A final decision is expected by the weekend. So all of that good feeling that BC was going to go out, they were not going to drag their feet, and they were going to hire the guy that they needed, it all kind of went away. All of a sudden now we're back into the old Boston College way of doing things. We're going to go, we're going to have interviews, we're going to drag this all out, and we're going to do things the way that we've always done. Now, this is not the best news for Boston College fans who were very excited. They got themselves worked up that Blake James was gonna get his statue built for him after he hires Bill O'Brien and brings a guy in that was going to infuse excitement with the Eagles. Now you have to worry because you have to think, okay, they're doing interviews as other people that they're interested in. What is going on here? Why does BC have to do things this way? Why do they have to do interviews? If Bill O'Brien is the guy that they want, just give him the money and hire him. You don't have to be cute about things. You don't need to bring people in that maybe aren't the best choice. And maybe, you don't have to, if you know based off of what you're looking for that he is the guy that you want, just give him the money. You make enough money in ACC rights to pay Bill O'Brien and bring him here. From what I've heard, there's a good chance that BC probably also got some money from Green Bay to pay for Jeff Hafley. You don't have to pay Jeff Hafley anything. You don't have to pay very much in over of whatever is going to bring Bill O'Brien here. Just get him here. But Boston College has a president, Father Leahy, and a system of things that he insists on doing that is archaic and counterproductive to the future of this program. I am sure Blake James wanted to just go out and get his guy. I am sure that he probably thought that after this weekend, he was just going to close the deal with Bill O'Brien and move on. But just like Pat Kraft, just like Martin Jarmond, just like Brad Bates and Gene DiFilippo, Blake James hit that red tape wall that is Father Leahy. I wish someone could talk to the priest and say to him, look, You have a Division I program here at Boston College. You are one of 64 programs, I think, or 70 something programs that's a Power 5 school. Can you please start treating it that way? We don't need to go and bring in guys that aren't going to be the best fit for this program. I'm going to tell you something right now. Here you go. You guys have been looking for scoops. You've been everywhere. You've seen things that aren't true. I was getting some wet, wonky information, but as I said, I feel like they were ready to sign him, and then Father Leahy put his foot down. I know from this is like, take this as gold from the source that I'm getting it from. Boston College wants a coach that has experience. That is a must. Okay? And I'll tell you one other candidate that has popped up. And it's one that's been around for a while. Al Washington. Does he fit that? If being a head coach is a must with what they want, does Al Washington do that? No, but they're interviewing him. I don't, maybe because he's an alumni. Maybe I have heard that he has a lot of high thoughts from the boosters. It doesn't matter though. At the end of the day, all these other names, you can go to Eagle Insider right now and find out. I have the full interview list of who's coming to interview. It's in the link notes. Go there right now. Sign up. 75% off. It's $2.25 a month. I am telling you, I look at the list and I say to myself, Blake James is just, it's almost like a smokescreen to just get to the end where they're going to hire Bill O'Brien. Bill O'Brien's interested in this job. He's made that clear. Boston College is interested in Bill O'Brien. BC needs to get themselves together and get this program ready to move forward, because there's guys out there that I've heard other schools are starting to sniff around. One is a very good tackle that you have that you do not want to lose, that, hey, Bill O'Brien's team is trying to potentially poach from you. You need your staff in now. You need to get them in now to prevent this stuff from happening, from you losing guys to the portal, from you're missing recruiting weekends now and recruiting time because you have the old staff out doing things. You got to get it going. So to hear that they're going through this interview process again is annoying. It's infuriating, I would say, is the word I would probably use. Annoying may be more accurate for what I would say. Now, in our second segment, I'm going to explain why BC can't mess this up. What will happen to the Eagles if they continue to drag their feet with the hiring of Bill O'Brien? I'll explain why this is a must, that they have to get things going soon, in just a moment. Happy Super Bowl to all who celebrate from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. If you're like me, Super Bowl Sunday is all about scoring the best seat on the couch, grabbing your favorite football snacks, and placing some super bets. I love my food. I get a big screen TV. I'm not the big fan of the ads. I think they're kind of hokey a lot of the times, and I just don't think they're as funny as people make them out to be. So it's a good time for me to get up, stretch my legs, and put another log on the fire. But with FanDuel, you have so many ways to end the season with a win, or two, or three. Not only can you bet on who will win Super Bowl 58, but FanDuel also has bets for which player will score a touchdown, how many points will be scored, and so much more. New customers join today, and you'll get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. This is Locked On BC, AJ Black. I want to say a shout out to all the Ohio State fans that are out there, because I know a bunch of you are hate listening to me, and I love each and every one of you. Thank you for clicking and listening to my show. Now, Bill O'Brien. BC has a history. When you look at what Boston College has brought in for coaches, go back to each coach and look at what they brought in. You had Jeff Jagosinski, an offensive coordinator. He ended up being okay, but was he a proven commodity? No. You brought in Tom O'Brien. Not really a proven commodity. I think he worked at Navy before. But then since then, you look Frank Spaziani, defensive coordinator, local guy, not a proven commodity. Steve Adazio was a 500 coach at Temple, not a proven commodity. And Jeff Hafley, as we all learned over this last couple of years, had never coached a game at the college level. Absolutely not a proven commodity. So Blake James is looking for something a little bit more as a proven commodity. And Bill O'Brien, based off of what I've seen in his time with Alabama, New England, Houston, Penn State, is about as proven of a commodity as Boston College could attract here. Remember, Boston College is not Ohio State. It's not Georgia. They're not going to get a guy that has, a 700 winning record and has won multiple conference championships and blah, 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 blah. But he was a Bear Bryant Coach of the Year. He took a NFL team that was bad to 4 playoffs with the Texans. He worked with Nick Saban. He worked with Bill Belichick. And he's got all of that. And he could bring that here to Boston. He could also be the first coach in a while that could bring local interest. You ask anyone in New England who Bill O'Brien is, they all know who he is. This is not a surprise. Guys that don't know, fans that don't pay attention to Boston College, they know who he is. The kids that play local ball, they know who he is. He's an instant game changer for BC. He brings in a name that puts Boston College on the map without playing a snap, and they don't need to. They are a team now that can do what you hoped they could do, which is get past that 7-win cap that has been, hindering them since Jeff Jagosinski. If they mess this up, you could bring in a guy. Say, you bring in Paul Chryst, someone I mentioned before, who has quite the history at Wisconsin, was not very good at Pitt. He could be an answer, but you don't know. There's a lot more question marks about Paul Chryst. You look at Al Washington. I mean, if you asked Will Blackman what he thought of Al Washington, he would think he'd be the game changer to fix this team. And believe me, there's a lot of alumni that really like Al Washington. But I go back to this. Has he coached a game yet? He hasn't. Has he been a coordinator yet other than special teams and run defense? No, he hasn't. He's not there yet. You can't hire Al Washington because that puts you right back where you were under Jeff Hafley. Blake James needs the ability to just go and hire Bill. B.O.B. is going to be the guy that's going to put butts in seats, open donors' wallets, get recruits in, and bring some life into this program. I keep saying this because I feel passionately that Bill O'Brien's the right guy. But as I said, I've said this with Mitch on this show the last couple days. This is Boston College. Nothing is ever easy. Nothing is ever the right thing to do. And they always seem to make things that don't put the program forward. I loved what Mitch said yesterday, which is that BC has a tendency to love to make the safe hire. They want to keep going for these guys that they think will be around for a long time because for some reason they're going to change the program and then stick around. You're not going to find the next Bear Bryant or Nick Saban at Boston College. Jeff Hafley was never going to be that guy. I would love, and I am going to be completely honest here, Boston College is a stepping stone program. If you can't get that in your head, I don't know what to tell you. there's probably 5 schools in this entire country that are not stepping stone programs. Boston College is definitely one that is a stepping stone program. If Bill O'Brien wants to come here and coach for 3 or 4 years and bring Al Washington as a defensive coordinator, have him learn, and then have him take over after he leaves, that sounds like a dream situation to me. And honestly, I don't think it's that out of left field that it could happen. Think about that. Al Washington is stuck at Notre Dame behind Al Golden. Bill O'Brien is going to probably want someone who knows the place. He could bring him in. He'd be his ace recruiter. He could, he's obviously been part of some great defenses both at BC and at Notre Dame. That's a perfect situation right there. But you can't make Al your head coach. You just can't. And then you have other guys like I keep seeing like Paul Chryst and Chip Kelly. Paul Chryst and Chip Kelly both, from what I've heard, well, Chip Kelly is clearly almost checked out. He just wants to get to the NFL as fast as possible. He's like, feet don't fail me now. And Paul Chryst, I heard from Wisconsin insiders, kind of just was like meh when he was leaving Wisconsin. He was starting to get that malaise that you saw out of Jeff Hafley and some of these other coaches that are just quitting on college football. You can't go for those guys. That basically puts that arrow right back on Bill O'Brien. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who they interview. All signs point to him being the right guy. He's going to be on campus this week when they do their interviews. I believe they're doing it at BC. I've heard other things, but I think it's going to be at BC. Don't let him leave. Get him here, have him sign, do the announcement this weekend. Don't let Bill O'Brien leave campus without a contract. You have this. Don't make it messy. Just do it. Now, in our final segment, I want to look at what I think Bill O'Brien could do in terms of NIL, the current roster, and much more. We'll get into all of that in just a moment. Now, with your ride or die, your ride or die is so important to you, and eBay Motors has got you covered. With passion, drive, and patience, what brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether in your speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with the eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit for your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Locked on Boston College, AJ Black. Just a reminder, right now, if you're listening on Monday night, up until midnight, on Eagle Insider, we have 75% off. That's $2.24 a month for 12 months. You're paying like $28 for the entire year. I have up right now the entire list of who's being interviewed. I have my some updates on recruits. The last 2024 recruit. I've been dropping all sorts of stuff on there. You can get in. The details are in the links of the show notes. Please sign up before midnight so you can get that 75% off. I want to see you guys up there. So check that out. Now, I've been thinking about why Bill O'Brien would be the perfect fit for BC. And I first start with the current roster. What could Bill O'Brien bring to keep BC competitive in 2024 and keep them afloat without having them suffer, a setback and what looks like a tough season for them? And first, I want to look at his work with quarterbacks. He's obviously worked a lot with Tom Brady, and he helped Tom Brady to some of his most productive seasons as a quarterback. So I think that's really good. But it's hard to give him complete credit when you're playing with the GOAT, right? Like, how much is that the GOAT? How much is that Bill O'Brien? So I can understand if some folks are a little bit skeptical of that. But then I look at his work with Bryce Young, who he turned into a Heisman Trophy winner. A mobile quarterback, good arm, smaller quarterback, kind of like Thomas Castellanos. I would just love, and I thought Chip Kelly would be a good version of this too, but I don't think he's going to come here, for Bill O'Brien to get his hands on Thomas Castellanos. Castellanos, we've seen a lot of good potential out of him, but a good coach like O'Brien, I feel like he could really mold the kid into a better quarterback, fix his footwork, get him more accurate, teach him how to read defenses better. Like, if you want someone to come in here and get Castellanos to that next level, I feel like Bill O'Brien would be the best choice for that. So that's one piece. He's worked, with New England's wide receivers. He was an offensive coordinator under Nick Saban for Alabama. His offenses at Alabama were averaging 35, 40 points a game. So he can put together high-powered offenses, and I think that's important too. Like, BC continues, like, they were okay last year, but would you consider BC an exciting offense? No, it felt like it went right back to Adazio with the ground and pound. I feel like Bill O'Brien, there's enough offensive pieces that BC has between Jaden Skeet and Joseph Griffin and Jerron Bradley and the running backs. They've got a lot there. He could maximize that. So that's another thing I think he'd be really good at. Now, NIL is something I wanted to bring up too, because it's an interesting piece that I think is super important in terms of what they're going to look for this next head coach. They need someone experienced with that, because the world is changing. I mean, right as I was going to record this episode, I saw the news article about Dartmouth basketball unionizing. The world's going to change for college athletes in the next couple of years between NIL, unionization, the changing conferences, all this stuff. You need a coach that can kind of help you study through that. And Bill O'Brien, he's done it. I'm sure he has had experience with that at Alabama. When he was at Penn, he didn't have to deal with that. But I feel like he's another coach that could actually thrive in that, because I think he's the kind of guy, when you install him, that would get donors to donate for NIL, donate to the school. That's a big thing for them, right? So that's another piece. In terms of the transfer portal, I feel like he'd be a home run. What offensive player would not like to play with him? He's a guy that has a ton of experience, that's been everywhere, that can get you to the league. He hits all those big markers for BC. And all of these things that I'm saying, all the names that I've heard for BC, to some extent or not, don't hit the levels that he does. When you look at Al Washington, what would Al Washington do with Thomas Castellanos? You'd have to bring in an ace coordinator to fix that, right? Like, he'd have to bring in somebody awesome to do it. And again, so that's another, like, pushing off the buck to get somebody here. Some of the other names, like Paul Chryst, right? Same thing. With Bill O'Brien, it kind of eases in a lot of that stuff. So I keep saying this. Yes, they didn't hire somebody on Monday. And yes, it sounds like, according to all from what Pete Thamel tweeted and Andrea Allison and all that stuff, Thursday or Friday, we're probably going to get the answer. At the end of the day, I still think it's going to be Bill O'Brien. I'm not going to definitively say that, but I'm going to say that it's pretty darn close. I feel like this, just when they can interview until their face turns blue, unless Bill O'Brien is a bear in the room and like, what are you going to do to fix this team? I don't know. I think he's going to be able to sell what he could do for this program, right? So I feel like he's going to be the next head coach for Boston College. I get the teeth gnashing and the worries, because hey, it's Boston College. Anything could happen. I still half expect, like, on Wednesday to see a tweet from Pete Thamel with Bill O'Brien is no longer a candidate for Boston College. But remember, go back. It's hard to remember it now, but if you go back to 2019, right after Steve Adazio was fired, this follows the same pattern as Jeff Hafley, because BC fans, for the most part, all wanted Hafley to come here. And were worried that they were going to screw things up. They were worried that BC wouldn't make the right hire. What happens? They had, they were successful there. They got the guy that they wanted. It didn't work out, but they got him. I feel like OBrien is the guy that Blake James wants. And as long as the money lines up, and God hope it does, they're going to get their guy. Now, I know, folks, there's been a lot of other news that are going on with other sports, but I can't not talk about the coaching search. I'm sorry. Like, I know the bean pot's going on, and right now it's not going well, but I go with what gets the most interest, and the coaching search it's not even close. So I'm going to keep talking about this because as long as there's new stuff coming up, I'm going to talk about the coaching search. So follow me on Twitter at AJBlack247. As I said, go to Eagle Insider right now, sign up, $2.24 a month. I'm going to have more details up in the morning. I'm going to continue working sources. I have really reliable sources. Now that it seems like the faucet opened a little at Boston College and some news coming out, so I'm able to get more meaty stuff. Hopefully we'll get some intel there. So check that out. Thank you all for listening. And thank you if you're new, if you're just checking out Locked On BC for the first time, I hope you enjoyed it. My name's AJ Black, editor and publisher of Eagle Insider. Thank you for listening to Locked On Boston College, your team every day.